Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Live with Kyrus. We're so glad to have you here. I was going to say we're so glad to hear from you, but it's okay. That doesn't work. So we're so glad to have you back tonight. We're going to be talking about what's the formula with my guests. We've got Pastor Kyrus and Deacon Brian, Aaron and Kelsey Brave, John L. Bales, aka Pookie, and Indy Boo. So send in your questions and comments to the panel tonight. We're going to be answering some questions from last week too, because we didn't get to cover everything. But tonight I want to cover Father's Day, some things about the men, and then what's the formula to just some dating things, because I actually had an extensive question this week that was asking what's the formula when it comes to dating. Do you want to hurry up and get to know someone? Do you want to get to know them organically over time? Or do you kind of want everything up front and like cut and dry so that you know what to expect? So we just have some different things we need to cover tonight. And I kind of want to go ahead and jump right in. Before we get started, can everyone like and share this and send it to someone? Because it might really help them and give them some insight on some different things that they need help with it. They just might not ask you or tell you about. So I just want to say, hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Everybody doing okay?
Yeah, yes. Excited to be here.
Yes.
Yeah. How are you feeling, Deacon Byrne, about Father's Day coming up?
It's a really wonderful day. You know, I mean, I don't really celebrate too much in these different days, but it's nice when you have your family around, your kids around, and you can really tell that they genuinely care about you and they're, kind and considerate. I mean, Indy's got a super smart mouth, but other than that, they're all great.
Yeah, you don't start throwing shade because I am the queen of palm trees now.
Okay. Aaron, it's your first Father's Day, so what are your thoughts and expectations? Like, how do you feel about it being your first Father's Day?
I'm just excited to see if Kelsey's going to go all out for me like I go all out for, Valentine's Day. And Mother's Day.
Gosh.
Oh my gosh, Aaron, I don't think that was the answer any of us were looking for. So I don't think that was our answer at all. And Pastor Kyrus is rolling her eyes and looking up in the air. I'm not sure why. But one of the things that we talked about last week was the formula to dating and getting to know someone. Or do you wait? Do you take your time? Like, how do you handle that? And Indy is recently engaged, about to be married. What is some organic advice, Indy, that you would give someone when it comes to, is there a formula of getting to know each other, and how does that work? And do you cut it short? Do you go too fast? Like, what do you think?
I mean, I think every relationship is different. It just depends on the person. But I mean, I think it's important to have a lot of things up front so you know what you're getting yourself into. Like, do y'all want kids? Like, what are y'all's like religion, like beliefs or politics, and just different things that can break up marriage. Like, how do you like? And then, I mean, that is a question too. Like, if you have some school debt, you might need to tell that too. But not on the first date, but I'll say like up front, you want to be honest and open as much as possible. So there's not feelings that have been caught. And then somebody's like, I can change for you, but really you can't. You should change for yourself, because once you get comfortable with that person, then you revert back to your old ways because it wasn't genuine. So I think, just coming in there, dating, you're collecting data in general, so I think coming in there, being your true self and being real and say, hey, this is what it is. I'm big on family, or in a few years, I plan on moving here. Are you willing to do that kind of stuff? Just ask. I ask the hard questions. You want to get to know people, but you do want to ask some real questions to, have a in-depth conversation. So it's not so surfacey. So then when something does, pop off, you all both aren't like shocked. Well, I never talked to them about this or blah, blah, blah. So certain deal breakers that you might have, I think you just need to go right in and say, hey, you smoke or you drink, that's a no for me, dog, or something. So I think just being upfront and open as much as possible, but still be lighthearted about certain things and be open to hearing the other person's side and their point of view.
That's good, Indy. Okay, so John L. Bales, I want to ask you, when it comes to dating, and I know that you're older than Indy and you have a child or you have two children, how do you handle things, especially having kids? And being married before, how do you handle things when it comes to dating and time wasted and time invested. What is your take on that?
Well, I was listening to everything that Indy said, and I think for me, my favorite word for me, and yes, I do think age, as far as, because I am older and I kind of feel like I really don't have time to try to, get to know someone, take years and years to get to know someone. But there really isn't a formula. There really isn't a checklist. I think before I would think, okay, is he this? Is he that? Does he do this? Does he do that? But it's really not a checklist. It's really not a cut and dry formula. I think that even now with me having children and I've been married, and going forward, you have to think about what's really important to you. Like Indy was saying, what is the deal breaker? And I think he should feel the same, think on those same terms as well. What's really important? Let's just get it out there in the open so we won't waste each other's time.
So coming from the parents, how soon is too soon to introduce your child to a possible boyfriend or girlfriend? And I want to hear Kelsey and Aaron's take on this, and then I want to hear Pastor Kyrus and John L. Bales.
So how soon is too soon?
Yes.
Ooh, I think that's a tricky situation. I just think, kids are just so vulnerable and, just easily persuaded and just, their minds are growing, all that stuff. And so I just think if you have people in and out, it can be damaging mentally and emotionally. And also it can be dangerous physically as well. But I don't know. I think if you're really, really serious with somebody and you actually see yourself marrying that person and maybe you've had those conversations, like, this is serious, we actually see this going somewhere, we're on the same page kind of thing, then I think that's probably okay to introduce them to your children. But if you're just kind of like, I'm just dating, just testing out the waters, probably is not best to, in my opinion, probably isn't best to just introduce them right away. Like I said, maybe just be on the same page, make sure you're going in the same direction before you do all that, is what I think.
Okay, Aaron, so you feel the same way, or do you think parents need to still have a life and still be able to date and things like that? Because I have friends that are younger and then I have friends that are older, and they both have different views on, dating and introducing your children to specific, to your significant other or person you're around. So Aaron, as a father, what is your take on how you would handle that? Because I know it's different for guys than it is for girls, because 9 times out of 10, a lot of the times the kids are with the mom. So how would you handle that? Or what kind of advice would you give to a young guy who's dating again and a single dad?
I would say along the same lines is just do your best job to be careful and protect your children's heart and protect your own heart. I think if you are, at the end of the day, I think when you start sleeping with people, that can affect your ability to protect your heart and make some wise decisions. You know what I mean? Because when you're sleeping with somebody, you start feeling those feelings like, oh, we're gonna be together. There's potential to feel that. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. If you're already sleeping with them, your mind could be a little misconstrued, and you might not have had all the conversations that you need to have already. But I just think kids are, they're a treasure, and they need to be protected to the best of their ability. And you don't know everybody. You got. I mean, one of my favorite sayings was, you gotta spend enough time with somebody that you're dating for at least one prescription round of their prescription drugs to wear off. You know what I mean? So just in case they're on these prescription drugs that you didn't have no idea about, stay with them long enough to see when things wear off and when they got to go get a new fill. Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so Pastor Kyrus and Deacon Byrne, I know you guys have been married and not separated, but you have tons of friends and different people that you counsel. So, Pastor Kyrus, why are you what are your thoughts on this?
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's really, really tricky. You know what I mean? To me, if you're serious, it's all situational. If you're serious, because kids can really be opinionated, and sometimes you can be really feeling that person, and introduce them to your kids. And I've seen times that people say the kids rejected the person, and for no apparent reason other than they felt that that the guy was going to take time away from them and their parent.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they were being more selfish than they were concerned about the mother or father's well-being and happiness. You know what I mean? So with me, I was always introducing them up front. If it didn't work out, it just didn't work out. You know, I bring them home quick. What you think?
Who were you dating?
When I first had my youngest son.
Oh,
Your oldest son.
My oldest son. Then your turn.
I'm trying to figure out who was he dating.
I don't know. Who knows? I think it is tricky, but when I was in that situation, when my mom was dating, because she was divorced or whatever, I treated everybody bad. So she had a hard time finding anybody. So I would think that you would take your time and maybe talk to the kids a little bit about, you're dating somebody and you kind of like them. But I probably wouldn't bring them home right away. I would ease the kids into it and have a conversation first, because the kids can tear up stuff, because that's what I did. I tore up stuff. I made sure it wasn't nobody happy. That's just what I did.
Oh my God.
That was my job.
Okay, so but at what point though? Because I know when kids are involved, you have to be so careful, because they're really impressionable and all those other things. But at what point is it too early and too soon? So should there be, because tonight we're talking about protocols. So what are the lines? Are there specific guidelines? Is the child is it too soon if they're 5? Is it okay if you've got an infant, then they don't really remember the person and it's not a big deal, because parents also have to have a life as well. We understand that. But when can it be too soon? And is it okay for the parent to say, well, I'll just date, and when they get older, I'll just be single, and then when they get older, I'll date again?
I think
how does that work? To
me, I think you have to be, I would be serious about the person before I introduce y'all to the person. I would have to be serious. I wouldn't just keep bringing a whole bunch of guys around all the time. And then you end up liking somebody. And then it hurts the child in the long run when things don't work out. And you be like, oh, where's so-and-so? He's not here anymore. And then you got a new person to meet. And then go through it all over again. Because not only are you hurting yourself when you separate from somebody, you hurt the kid. Because now the kid thinks they got a dad, or think they got a mom, or they think they got somebody they get really close to. And now that person is gone. So now you got to deal with their hurt that you brought into the house.
True.
Okay. So how long is it too long to wait for someone to change? Because now we're talking about dating people. We're talking about getting married. Like, how long is too long, Janelle, to wait for someone to change? Married, unmarried? What's the time frame that you give people?
That's a loaded question, because coming from the way my mind is set up, okay, I might just give you 30 seconds. Okay, I might give you a day. I might give you an hour. But to be fair, I think that's hard to say, because it depends on the situation. It depends on what it is that you're wanting to see the change. What change is it that you're wanting? You know what I mean? Let's say, okay, for instance, I mean, if you have someone that's just like let's just say verbally abusive, okay? They don't know any better. Maybe it was the way they were brought up, the way they were raised. They were used to being in a household where there's a lot of back and forth, or verbal abuse, or pardon my expression, but hell raising. You know what I mean? So okay, what if it's a thing that this is how they were brought up, or what they're accustomed to, maybe their learned behavior, right?
Well, that's good. I mean, that's true. That's
how long. How long do you wait, right? So then, the other part of this is, if we're talking, or if we're trying to give an advice or an opinion or a real life situation to someone who's viewing or listening that may not have a relationship with the Lord, right? They're in a relationship. They're both trying to find their way. we can't always say, well, you know what, have patience, and, like the Lord has patience with us and the Lord has grace with us. You can't say that to someone who's just trying to build that relationship or may not know the Lord at all, right?
Right.
So it's a thing that I would say to that person or that particular person, how much do you think you can handle? If you've spoken with this person and said, hey, look, this hurts me, this bothers me, or vice versa. If the man is saying to the woman, the way you treat me, or what you're saying to me, or how you say it to me, this is bothering me, okay? Then right there, if they're not changing, I think you need to separate, right? But then if you're dealing with someone who they do have a relationship with the Lord, both parties, and there's a situation going on, and that's when I just say, hey, we need to go somewhere and pray. We need to pray together. We need to pray apart. We need to get counseling, and then see if that change will come, or we'll just separate until both of us can, find a common ground. That's
okay.
I agree with Pookie and everything like that too, because I think it's what you can handle. But also, I will say, like, if you're living life with this person, you can kind of see if they're sincere about it. One little secular little saying my uncle told me, he said a cheetah never changes spots, and I was like, okay, but you have to honestly see if they're putting in the work to change, And so also about the lines what Pookie said, how much can you handle? Because what I think of is it starting to affect my peace of mind. Am I starting to act like them? Because bad company corrupts good habits. So if they're toxic and then I start taking on those toxic traits, I'm like, I know me and I'm not like this, or I'm letting them pull me out of character, then I'm like, it's time to go. Because if I've already spoken to you a couple times about it and then it starts to escalate, because someone no one stays at this level. It always intensifies. And people think, oh, well, if we get married, they'll change. No, it gets even worse because they know you're not going anywhere, or it's harder to get out of it. So a lot of things is like, Pookie, if they're Christians and all that, yeah, there's a little more hope sometimes because you can talk about like the Lord and stuff. But you just have to, it just depends on what you can take and what you can handle, and how is it affecting your life, your sleep life, how you act towards them and how you act towards other people, and how you start to see yourself. That's when you're kind of like, all right, now you're affecting my state of mind and how I walk through this life. And I can't think, or I always want to look at my phone because they're, what are they doing? You start being paranoid and accusing them of the things that they accuse you of, and you just take on their traits. That's when I feel like it's a little time to go.
Tremaine said, not me. You better act right or I'm gone, married or not. Tremaine, you ain't going nowhere.
You acting right, Tremaine.
He ain't leaving Lulu. He ain't leaving Lulu. But okay, so when we're talking about behavior and waiting for someone to change, at what point do you think too much is too much, or does that person not know that? Because Aaron made a good point earlier and said when you're sleeping with someone, sometimes you can be blinded, and so you might really think that you can take something. And I've been in a relationship where I was like, you know what, okay, I could tough this out, I can make this isn't a big deal, like, okay, and I'm praying and whatever else is happening, and literally, like, after I got out of that relationship, my family could see a whole huge difference in me. So I'm not noticing that I'm changing. I'm thinking that I'm handling it. I'm thinking that I'm doing well, that I'm just keeping my head up. Like, literally, I felt like I was dying inside. Okay, but I was like, just keep it on a smile, whatever. But I wasn't doing as good as I thought I was, And so I think sometimes, like, Aaron said, sometimes when you're getting intimate with someone, you can miss things. And then having a relationship with God, that can make you miss natural things. There are spiritual things that you need to pray and seek out, but there's some natural things the Lord will show you, and you can't say, okay, I'm just going to pray about it and keep believing that. The person has free will, so I learned about that in that season as well, that, okay, you're asking the Lord to do some things, but if stuff is still looking crazy, why are you even wasting your time? Like, why stay, so you just have to be really smart and be wise about that. I wanted to ask Pastor Kyrus and Deacon Byrne, and then Aaron and Kelsey, can you fall out of love with someone, and can you learn to love them? Like, how does that work? Can you learn to love someone? And then Aaron and Kelsey, I'm going to ask y'all about the falling out of love. Or, well, you know what? Let's switch. Pastor Kyrus and Deacon Brian, can you guys fall out of love with someone? And Aaron and Kelsey, your question is going to be, can you learn to love someone?
Go ahead first.
Oh Lord. I think if you can fall out of love with someone, you weren't in love with them in the first place. That's what I think. I think if it's that easy for you to say, "Oh, well, I fell out of love with that person," I don't think you were in love with them in the first place. You
Right.
might have been in love with the things they were doing,
Mm.
maybe the way they were acting, or maybe their profession, or something else. But I don't think you can fall out of love with somebody. You just weren't in love with them in the first place. You liked them for whatever you liked them for that season, and I don't think you can fall out of love with people. I don't think so.
Deacon Burn, why'd you give her the side eye?
Y'all don't want to hear my answer.
I do want to. We do. That's why I'm asking.
Yes.
I feel I'm not gonna say you can fall out of love with them, but the situation can change so much because sometimes things get so monotonous and continuing to go a different way than you vision that they should go.
Ooh.
And you get so disgusted sometimes and get so tired of continually talking to this person, talking to them and trying to work things out and trying to not to make them do it your way or just to come to a happy medium. And sometimes that person can be so stubborn and just don't want to change at all because like my wife, she tells me something, I say, why don't you do so and so? You didn't marry me for that, but I said at that time we didn't have kids, y'all were, we didn't have kids. And so when it came to the kids, you need to, make certain kind of foods, make sure they're eating right, do certain things.
We're back at food again.
Hold up, we're talking. It's my turn. So, you start doing different things because situations in life change, so you have to change with the times. So some people don't want to change and you get so tired of beating your head against the rock. It's not that you fall out of love with them, but your patience wear thin and you're saying, oh my God, what is going on? So you become more independent per se than trusting in your mate like you should. It's not that you don't love them, but you will become independent because you have to do stuff your own self.
I don't understand that.
He's saying if he has to fend for himself and find his own food, it's making it tough to love you and look at you while he's hungry. When his stomach is empty and growling, you're not as cute. That is what he's saying.
A man should not have to work all day.
Oh my God.
He worked all day. Yeah, I've taken up for you a many a day because I say
you have
all with the times. What
you have
doesn't always work. But I will say you can fall out of like with someone. You don't fall out of love. You fall out of like with
That's
someone.
true.
So
true.
That's what I'll say to that. He don't always like you. I don't always like you.
Okay, Kelsey and Aaron, what can you learn to love someone? I know you two are newly married, and I know that you both love each other. I'm a witness to that. But when it comes to maybe differences, are there certain things that you have to learn to love about your spouse's differences? Because everyone loves the stuff that's the same, And there's some people who are like, oh, I like that about them because they do it differently. And then sometimes it's too different and you're like, ooh, okay. So how do y'all handle that? Or what's some advice when you would give someone, about, learning to love some of the things that may be opposite of yourself or.
Well, okay. So when it comes to like the way people do things differently or just the way people do things that you wouldn't do it the same way or it's annoying to you or whatever. I think, that part, I think it's just, you just got to learn how to like ignore some things, like pick your battles kind of thing, right?
Okay.
So some things aren't worth pointing out and being like, I can't stand how you do that. Even if it really bothers you, you know what I mean? Because that's just unnecessary stuff that you're bringing in with that, right? So I think just on that basic level, you kind of just got to pick and choose. If it's something that's like interrupting the way you do your day and it really actually is making a difference or something, then yes, bring it up nicely and that kind of thing. But as like when it comes to like actually learning to love stuff, I think that you probably can learn to love certain things you didn't like at first, maybe. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I try to think of an example, honestly, but you might be able to think of an example.
Say your quote, Kelsey, that you saw the other day, if you can't change it.
Oh, right. That's actually good. Yeah, so if there's like something about a person that they can't change in 5 minutes, then don't mention it, right? So that is a pretty good rule to live by.
Okay.
In a lot of different scenarios. But here, I want to mention something. You know, one thing that I cannot learn to love? Aaron leaves the cabinet doors open. He will walk into the kitchen and open every cabinet and door.
Hey, I'm gonna put us on mute.
And then leave them. And I walk into the kitchen. I'm like, "Are you not done with this?" Like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, "Let me shut all these doors."
I leave it open because I'm still using. If I'm still putting stuff away, Andy likes to come in the bathroom. So if I'm washing my face or doing something, and I have my section of something open, Andy will be like, "You leave all these drawers open. It's my time in the bathroom. You're really not supposed to be here. I'm letting you in on my time."
Oh my gosh! Well, Aaron will go to bed.
I don't know about that. Hey, but
I kind of get it, Aaron.
Oh my gosh!
I really think at the end of the day, I think love it's a verb, it's an action word. I think there's actions behind that word. I think you can learn to love people, and I think the best example is, I think Indy was saying, you can like someone, but loving someone is a command from God. He said, love your neighbor as yourself. You know, it's not
Pastor Kyrus said today.
I think falling in love is a whole interesting thing. I mean, you're supposed to love your wife as Christ loves the church. It's a command to do that. You know what I mean? So it's not an option, you know, and I think a lot of us take love as if it's an option. Like, that's why I think we see a lot of divorces today, because people think that loving someone is those feelings and those butterflies that you get when you are infatuated, but loving someone is being selfless. It's not an option. It's saying, hey, I know that this person has some flaws and everything like that, but at the same time, I'm just thankful that Jesus loved me enough to overlook my flaws. Who am I to be harping on their flaws or in not serving them when God told me to serve and to love? You know, I think we, as the world looks at it, we don't always have our mindset so focused on the word of God, which is the truth. You know, and that is what can keep you in a relationship, because you start realizing your own faults. You start realizing that you ain't worthy of God's love, but he loved you anyways. And who are you to be complaining and mumbling and grumbling about little teeny stuff when you can get in the house, even if you don't come home without a cooked meal? I was just talking about this the other day. I was like, man, you know, it's so easy. I always say this. Listen, I have so much more respect. Even though I have thought I always had the utmost respect for my mom and for women all around the world, but I have so much more respect now that I've seen Kelsey just raising our child, or having to have him in her arms when she's breastfeeding or whatever, and your hands are just tied a lot of the day. And I can only imagine what my mom had with 3 kids in the house,
especially you, Aaron.
4. You know, and it seems like you're at home the whole day and you have the opportunity to do whatever the heck you wanted to do, and to clean the house, to wash dishes, to do whatever, to cook meals. But it's so easy. It would be so easy to just walk in that house and be like, dang, where's my food? Why is the house not dirty? Why is the house not clean? Instead of coming in the house and serving. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's like serving has no end to it. You know, Jesus had no extent to his serving. He got beat so bad. He served us so well. He washed our feet so well. He served us so much that there's no end to his amount of service that he gave to us. Plenty of us would have, if we were Jesus, that first stripe on our back when they whipped us, that was like, hey, that's it, we out of here. You know, but these are the figurative stripes, you know, the things that we don't seem like we like about our significant other, or the times we feel like we can walk in the house and feel like we have the right to get mad and get angry and upset, but we actually have no right. You know, Jesus had every right in the world to get angry, upset, and to not even, you know, serve us enough to bring us into the family, to cast us into hell, but he didn't, and he calls us to love in that same amount of way. So if we have made that commitment, serving is the only way. You know, the Bible tells us that we shouldn't be grumbling and complaining. So you got to come in the house and you got to serve. That's to the best of your ability. I get it. Even though as a man you're out serving all day, you feel like you're working hard for your family or whatever, and you want it to be a team effort. But I'm just saying, you don't know what that other person has gone through that whole day.
Right.
It's really hard to say. It's really hard to do.
I'm
I
still
don't
here.
know if this is an excuse for you, Pastor Kyrus, or a ticket of give her a break for Deacon Byrne. I just feel like that whole Aaron gave a good little sermon. Y'all need to record it and play it back for each
No,
other.
sir. I don't know where my Bible is to find these here scriptures that he's talking about all the time. When your daddy comes home acting crazy.
I'm still with her though.
Yes, he is.
I might be hungry, but I'm still here.
That's right.
Trust me,
That's
you
right.
can afford to miss a couple meals because you ain't in the gym like I told you to.
Hey, but he's stuck in there, and that's what I appreciate and love, and I'm thankful.
You still got
But in all, but
you're on this earth, Daddy. No, you're not done
Hey,
yet. I can't commend him because he's still living. He got time. He's acting.
He might be complaining and stuff, but boy, I tell you, he's stuck in there. He ain't no joke.
because mommy
You
is
gotta
a
give him his
pistol.
kudos. You gotta give him his props.
Pastor Kyrus is a pistol.
And mommy is stuck in there too.
Right, and mommy's intentions are really bad. She took everything that Aaron said and was like, see, instead of being like, let's both serve each other. I'm trying to tell you, it went over her head.
Aaron all the
Not
way
in
over
her
her head,
heart.
unfortunately. But Tremaine said, I'm confused with the verbiage of learning to love. Is falling in love and learning to love the same thing? I think most of the time when if we're talking about learning to love, we could come from the standpoint or perspective of arranged marriages and how these people are learning to love and they end up being together for years, or you learn to love the person, maybe even the way that they receive love or different than the love that you experienced or you witnessed as a child. So when you're learning to love someone, I think you may not be crazy about them at first, but then it can grow over time. So it could be synonymous with falling in love, just depending, I think, on the standpoint or the situation. Martia has a question, and Janelle, I want you to take a shot at this. She says, how would you advise someone who is dealing with constant infidelity in the relationship / marriage? And then Pastor Kyrus, I want you to answer.
Jeez.
Janelle's first. Okay,
let her answer.
Okay, so I just want to be clear, because even answering questions going forward, so with her, she's saying relationship / marriage. So are we talking about not only a marriage, but a relationship you're just dating? Well, not you, Martia, but okay.
I think she's saying a relationship or a marriage. How do you advise someone who's in a relationship, whether they're married or just dating?
Okay, well, just dating, I mean, that's like, to me, that's don't even just bye.
She ain't got no words for it. She
right.
said,
I mean, seriously. Right. Now, like, seriously, I have no type of my thing is you're dating and they're cheating, then let it go. Point blank, period. Because a marriage, I don't feel like a marriage is going to change it. Okay. Now, secondly, in a marriage, it's not that easy. And we've heard this before, even tonight, like Indy was saying, it's not that easy when we were, speaking of that question of, how long do you wait for someone to change? When you're in a marriage, it's not that easy just to walk away. So when you talk about infidelity in a marriage, now that is grounds, for divorce. However, it's not that easy just to walk away. I don't think that, I think I would just try to sit down and just go through, the whys and the why nots, and, has it ever happened before? Let's talk about it. We have a family. It's not easy. It's really not just to walk away from a marriage when if you've experienced, or if you are experiencing infidelity in your marriage. And that's big for me to say that, guys, because I am really like, you did what? You said what? You hit me, bye. You cussed me out, bye. You cheated, bye. You're not paying the bills, bye. I'm growing here. I'm learning. I really like, so my thing is, it's not that easy to walk away. So Martia, to answer your question, if someone is dating and the person is cheating or has a problem with it, and don't even move forward. And if the person is in a marriage and the person is cheating, I think you just kind of need to sit down and have a discussion and figure things out before you just jump to just walking away from the marriage. Because I know people they've been in that situation and their marriage is blossoming. So it's just it's just one of those things. Every relationship is different.
That was stressful for her to answer. She's just stressed out.
Yes. I'm sweating.
Indy's giving a side eye. Pookie is sweating, and Tremaine is saying, "Lulu, you better relax because he has millions of women praying for a good Mr. Harvey, for praying to God for Mr. Harvey." Okay,
I hear you guys. Know your worth.
Oh my God!
No, I cannot. But wait a minute. So, Pastor Kyrus, what's your take? And Martia did specify. She said specifically marriage. So, what is your take when that is present? Like, how do you advise or counsel someone when that's constantly happening?
I would talk to them. If it's constantly happening, more than likely that person is just going to keep doing it. Unfortunately, if they've done it that many times. Now one time if you talked about it, they're never going to do it again. Is this person a habitual cheater? Was he cheating on you before you even got married? Because 9 times out of 10, there's some red flags that you might even see before you go into the marriage. And if that person was doing it then, and now you married them and they're doing it again, more than likely they're going to continue to do it. And I always advise people to try to work things out if they possibly can, but there's no need to sit home and just be crying every night, be hurt all the time, be worried about where they are, thinking they're lying and say they're going to the store and they're really not, all kinds of things. And so I think personally, I would have a conversation. And if you gave them one chance because you think this marriage is worth keeping and you need to, want to do it for you and you want to do it for you and the kids, I think you should have a conversation and try it. But if that person is doing it all the time, if he's doing it all the time, he's just going to keep doing it. He didn't want to be married in the first place. So you might as well go ahead and give him his walking papers and just let him keep walking so you can find somebody else or somebody else can find you because you're a gem and a treasure and somebody else will want you even if you don't cook.
Oh, just like Lulu said, because Tremaine, as many as you have, there's 20 million waiting for her. Okay, that came in right on time. That was perfect timing. Indy, I saw Deacon Burns. Your face, you made a face. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, like I said, if you're just dating, you can definitely just up and roll out because you shouldn't have to put up with that at all. If you're in a marriage situation, it's definitely tougher. I mean, it's one of them situations you always want to say you need to turn the other cheek and, try to pray for the best. But some situations are tough, you know what I mean? But you have to definitely, if it happens to you, I think you need to evaluate yourself to see. I'm not going to say it's definitely not right for someone to do it to anyone. So you can't say it's that person's fault. They made you do a certain thing. So you have to really evaluate yourself. If you
do that again. Nobody can make you cheat.
They can't make you do it. No, they can't make you do it. No. Now they can also make you become independent, but they can't make you cheat. And so I think you should not be doing that to anyone. And but like I said, if you're married, you really need to talk to your spouse and figure out what the plans are and if there's any hope for the future.
But I think that's really tough though. Because there's so many different, I think, married women that I've spoken to. And even being with Pastor Kyrus, we're praying for people, we're talking to people, and there's different situations. She will just come out straight up and ask them, do you want to stay married and do you want to keep your husband? Because it's none of us like praying or really going around in a circle when your true heart's desire is to keep that person. Now, it may sound absolutely absurd to say out loud because in someone's right mind, why would you want to keep them and why would you want to stay? And so shame and condemnation and guilt, and even pride will make you say, oh, I'm leaving, I'm out of here. But the truth is, you may lose more leaving than you would if you had stayed and putting your pride to the side. Now, of course, it's wrong. I don't condone it. I can't tell y'all what I would do in that situation because I don't have that kind of time. So future husband, don't try me. But what I'm saying is there's no easy fix and no right or wrong answer for certain situations because everything's different. And like Aaron said, how much can you take? Indy, how much can you take? How much are you willing to go through certain things. And so I think you have to know yourself, and you have to know if someone is sincere, because you can look at someone and they will cry wolf all day long and be out there and just be sneakier and better at hiding it the next time. So I do think it's oh, go ahead, Deacon Burn.
I'm just saying, I understand what you're saying about being sincere, but it's hard to look at someone in the eyes and tell, because I can tell my wife something that I'm smiling and I'm laughing because I'm figuring inside that she is not believing me, but I'm telling the gospel truth.
Why are you laughing?
Because I know how she's thinking.
Right,
you know what I mean? So you're telling her 100% truth, so help you God. And they're just automatically saying, I know you, or this is not right, or you're lying. And that really, really gets your goat.
It gets your goat, but you're right.
Lulu said, she said it to me, and before I can say no, I don't want him, my lips said yes, I want my honey. Shoot, I swallowed my pride and kept my baby. No, but that's real, and that is real love. That's not you just learning to love or trying to figure out how to handle it or whatever the case is. That is you turning the other cheek and having, real love. Aaron's got his church finger up. Yes.
Hey. I was just going to say, I think especially as the Christian community, because the world itself, I don't think is always so pro-marriage, but I think as Christians, we have to do our best to be pro-marriage, not pro be a dummy, but pro-marriage. Pro like, hey, I hear what's going on here or with this situation. Why not? Let's try to come up with some good solutions, maybe counseling, stuff like that. Help walk them through, but on your side of things, be pro-marriage. Obviously, like I said, not pro be a dummy. I'm just saying, as in general, if our homies, just got married or whatever, and then now we're giving them bull crap about, oh man, you always gone with your wife or whatever. Not that everybody should always be, gone or whatever, but be happy and thankful that your friends are doing things that they're to protect their marriage.
That's right.
To help their marriage prosper, because there is so much of a trickle down effect, especially if they have kids, or especially, even if they don't have kids, there's still a trickle down effect that the enemy wants to take place in that person, in those people's lives, by bringing out about divorce. So I think as Christians, I think we need to do our best to be pro-marriage. Oh, go ahead, y'all gotta go on today. Go do what you gotta do. Go, oh, y'all are staying in tonight. Do what you need to do to protect your marriage. And I think that's a really important thing that I think us as Christians, we need to be more intentional about. I mean, not maybe everybody else is. Maybe it just hit me that I need to be more intentional about that. But I just feel like in society itself, it's not usually that way. It's kind of more like, well, you cheated, see you later, whatever, or why you always hanging out with your boy? Why you never hang out with us anymore, or stuff like that. Like,
it's true.
So I do our best to be pro-marriage.
But that's why people do say it's better for married people to hang out with married people, and single people to hang out with single or married people. If you're single and you want to hang out with some married people or a married couple and get some good wise counsel, that's great. But if you are married, that will just really tempt you to be in an old lifestyle and living in a single way. And so that can really that's a thin line. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't have any friends that are single, but just be careful and wise about who you're hanging out with and the time that you're spending on the with the person. Andy, do you have something to say about the cheating and the infidelity?
I mean, I think in anything, it's like, that's grounds for divorce in the Bible. So don't let someone make you feel bad for leaving, because I do know people that have stayed, but I also know people that have left on the first one, and it's not, and I think a lot of times it's easier for the person that is a cheater to say, right, have grace and you should stay and blah, blah, blah. And what does the Bible say? It's easy for you to pull out scriptures, but you weren't pulling out scriptures when you were home, girl. Everybody wants grace when the shoe is on the other foot.
Right.
But if you have been honest and open with someone and you have never put them to, because that's a trauma, honestly, because now your brain is all scrambled up. You can't even think right. And then you're over there paranoid thinking, well, is that where y'all took them? You've been here before? Just different things. Or you think you're going to run into somebody. You just don't know. When the cheater, when you get cheated on, it makes the trust so much worse. But me, yes. I mean, I haven't been in that situation to tell you what I would do. But what I think I would do is I would leave because I know I'm such a grudge holder, unforgiver in that way that I would bring it up all the time, and we would be miserable because I would always be like, "You, I know you're not talking to me all crazy. You're the one that, you know." It would always
Exactly.
it would all honestly, it would always come back to that, and I was like, then I would lose respect, and so and I would honestly say I'm doing you a favor by still being here. You know, I just know me.
Right.
So a lot of times it's easier for the person that did the cheating to say you should stay and you should give us another chance. But if you know you and you know you're not gonna do too well, and I also think it's, sometimes when people say they want to stay together for their kids, I think it's more damaging for the kids because I remember when my parents would argue and stuff like that, and you know, David, I'm staying here because y'all here, and I'm like, sometimes I wish you might need to go. Both of y'all need to go their separate ways. But I made an oath to myself that if y'all ever moved on, I'm sabotaging it. So I needed y'all to stay together. But
well, but in all honesty, I say all the time there are so many great things about my parents' marriage that I saw growing up, and then there's some things I know I don't want in a marriage. So, like, my mom does not cook. Okay, I do not believe the way to a man's heart is through his stomach because he can eat here, he can eat over there, he can eat at the drive-through. All of that is a bunch of BS. Bible study, call it what you want. I don't really believe that. However, if that's someone's love language, which is my dad's love language, because that's how, you know, my grandmother showed him love, there's a difference. And it's just someone asking you to do something because you care about them, right? Okay, cool. So I learned to cook. I'm great at cooking. I love cooking. I like it. I enjoy it. But I don't want to have to do it as a slave. It's something that I enjoy doing, brings our family together. We have a great time. But then, you know, Pastor Kyrus is also very argumentative. And so I can be argumentative as well, but I'm working on that because it doesn't always pay. My dad has never met a stranger. I've never met a stranger, but he can have a real bad attitude. You know, so there's so many different great things that you take from both sides.
Yes,
but you do have to be careful when it comes to your parents being, you know, thinking that you're staying for a certain reason or you're doing this, because at the end of the day, if you can't be a good example of what love is, then if it's going to be bad, you shouldn't be. You know, that's not an example to give your children anyway. Show the child an example of strength or perseverance or forgiveness. Because, you know, Indy's saying she just might forgive you, but she ain't got no mercy.
I'm thinking I'm forgiving so God can forgive me. That might not be the right thing, but I'm trying to get in these pearly gates, you heard?
Oh my goodness. All right. What I feel is, I always tell people in the street and people I know, it's so easy to walk away. Like your Uncle Cliff, if someone wasn't going his way, he was rolling on, you know. And it takes a man to stand, because every day is not going to be bright, sunny, you know, smooth and going easy. So you have to have a certain amount of tolerance to deal with a person who was not raised the way you were raised and think the way you think. So you have to have some stick to it business. You know what I mean? You got to be able to stay there even when the rain is on your head. You know what I mean? And when people say, well, I'm not going to stay because of no kids. I was raised without a father. So I said to myself, I'm never leaving my kids. I don't care what your mom does. I'm going to be there. When my kids wake up in the morning, they're going to see their daddy. I'm going to hug them at night. I'm going to kiss them at night. And I'm going to say they didn't ask to be brought in this world, and they didn't tell me to marry whoever you marry. So you need to be there for those kids to set an example. Not saying if you're in a bad abusive relationship, but you're in a normal relationship that has problems sometimes, which everyone is going to have problems. I don't care who you talk to. If their relationship is perfect and no arguments, and they either just got married or they're lying. One of the two. You know what I mean? Because stuff's going to happen. You're going to have different opinions about money. You're going to have different opinions about family. You have different opinions about a whole lot of different things, how to raise a kid. But it takes a man to stand up when the times are tough, and you need him. Once kids get involved, you can't go nowhere. You know, I tell people all the time, say, why don't you get a new truck? Why don't you do this? I said, my kids are my new truck. My kids are this, you know, when you have kids, your job is to make sure those kids become a great person in society.
That's true, and I think you did a great job, and I'm thankful that you stayed. And I know mommy made it hard to stay sometimes, Daddy. But we were just a true joy.
Yes,
Say so.
Come on.
I came home. I came home. I went in your room first. Just
Let me
smile
break
before I went in my room.
Let me get a reminder. Let me get a reminder. I mean, but Daddy, you're no bed of roses either. But I'm thankful that y'all stuck it out.
That's true. I know I'm not.
But in all honesty, but being older, I have seen that there is growth. There's room for growth, and there's Azariah. I just love it.
Yes.
But there's growth, and there's room for growth too. But you have to allow that person that room and give them that grace to do that. And so I think I want to commend you too, because I do think y'all have definitely changed and grown and made me a better person, and I think even a better person in relationships or having a desire to do certain things differently, because y'all have shown us that it's not right all the time, that no one's right and no one's perfect all the time. So it's just given me a stronger backbone. I think it's given Indy a little less tolerance. And Aaron, he's looking for love and grace and mercy, so he's leaving the cabinets open. And Pookie's, she's still lost for words and saying go home. So I do think there's so many different perspectives just on relationships, and it's hard to cover that in such a short time. When it's like such a deep and weighted type, those types of questions. But I'm thankful for you guys. I'm thankful. Indy, you had something to say?
No, I'm just I'm thankful for y'all too. I don't know what it did for me. It gave me some ebbs and flows, but we in a gang. I really am fond of y'all.
But Jonelle, I have this one last question I wanted to ask you. Your parents got divorced, and they weren't together. And I know you had a stepdad that you do love and care about, and a stepmom who's awesome too. But when it came time for you to get married, when you knew you needed to get a divorce, was that something that you thought about, or you knew your children would be better off not being in that situation?
I think that I knew that we all were better off not being in that situation. And I will say this, that my ex-husband did tell me, he made the comment that our volatile relationship, marriage, wasn't good for the children. And he didn't think that it should go forward, but we separated it thinking, and then we got back together, and then things didn't change. So, yeah. So,
well, shoot.
Right. Yeah. So,
God dang.
So what was the answer?
I don't know.
So the answer is, I did think about, with my parents divorcing and then me getting a divorce, it didn't really feel too good. You know what I mean?
It's you like you wanted to. Like, gosh, I didn't make it either.
Yeah, I did.
Right.
I really, really did. It doesn't matter what the situation was to bring you to the divorce, whether good or bad or ugly or whatever. You still have in the back of your mind, when you've come from a divorce or a broken home, that, oh, wow, me too. Right. I mean, I really, really did. And so it makes you, and I want to say this one thing, I hide behind that a lot. As far as going forward in my, for my future, the Lord literally told me going down the highway that you are using your past as a crutch for what I have for you in the future. So he literally said that to me because, and I mean, I just want everyone, who's listening or, who may listen, to this later. I really use the nope, because I'm not going through that again. Mm-hmm. Nope. If they look the same way, talk the same way, have the same habits or have the same hobbies, any little thing would kind of like rattle my cage, right? But at the same time, I'm sure I wasn't in his eyes what he probably saw as this perfect wife either. You know what I mean? So
did you cook, Pookie?
Huh?
Did you cook?
I tried. He said my chicken was tough.
No.
I can laugh at it now.
Pastor Kyrus' motive for that is, like she used to tell me, your brother's wife, they all learn to cook like your mama, and they all separated. That's always her motive.
That's maybe because Uncle Cliff found somebody else that could cook too.
They were all cooking.
Oh my god!
But you know,
They
but
were
I mean,
all cooking.
that's really great, and that's great advice. Thanks for being transparent, Pookie. That's good advice though, because you're not your past mistakes, and you don't have to be a label. You know,
That's
the
right.
world tries to put it on you when you're doing your taxes if you're single, married, you know. But don't worry about that. Just check the box and then get your money back. We had one last question. I want everybody. If we could do a quick speed round for this one last question, that'd be awesome. 2 seconds or less. Can y'all speak to different ways couples can support and encourage each other's growth in areas our spouse may be lacking in? Pastor Kyrus, you go first.
Wow. I think first of all, they have to recognize they have a problem.
Oh, that's good.
Some people don't think that they do have a problem. But if you kind of talk to them and say, hey, I noticed something, or how do you feel about something? And then whatever it is that they're lacking in, just really, cheer them on and keep encouraging them. So maybe they can't cook, just, help them with whatever they need to be.
You didn't want help. Go ahead, Deacon Byrne. Your time is up because now you're starting to tell stories. So you go ahead, Deacon Byrne, you go.
Well, I think it's all a matter of body language and tone. Your body language and tone when someone's not doing something and you want them to change really plays a big part in it. Because you have to have patience and grace for that person to change, because they're not gonna do it overnight. If they've been doing something all their life, they're not gonna do it overnight the way you want them to do it. So you really have to work on yourself, and your patience and your tone is very, very important. Because I know sometimes facial expression or my tone, will say something that I'm really not feeling it, but I'm trying to express it in a different way than go all out. So I think you just gotta be patient and pray and work on yourself and continue to tell them what you would like to happen.
Okay, Aaron and Kelsey, y'all are up. Then Pookie will end with Indy. What's a way that you can support your significant other in a way they may be lacking?
It's Aaron first.
Hey, I think at the end of the day, I think sometimes one person is inspired to make a change for something, and then the other person isn't. Like if you say, it's easy to think about I don't know, eating better or working out or stuff like that, right? One person is like, hey, let's go. I'm trying to get excited about working out and all this stuff. The other person's like,
I just had a date.
Right. I'm just chilling. You know what I mean? But I mean, I think that's it. But I think everybody on here probably has seen something like that, where your significant other is excited for something, but it ain't hit you yet. And I think if you're the person that has been excited for the thing, or is looking at something that needs to change, or say it can be finances, anything, then the Bible tells us that we should be prayerful in everything, and I think that is the biggest deal. It says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and thanksgiving. With thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and mind." I think at the end of the day, you have to know that, hey, God has this under control. God has my spouse under control. He was looking out for her before I met her, and he's going to keep on looking out for her. And I know that he cares about my happiness and my needs, but also, hey, I'm going to just go ahead and pray about it, because I'm going to pray for some inspiration, or I'm going to pray, hey, Lord, if there's something wrong with my expectations or thoughts, change them in me. Don't be so big and thinking that your poop and smell like roses. It don't. You know what I mean? So just be prayerful about those things, because you can't always just influence somebody to change or make a difference. You just kind of gotta keep praying.
Okay, Kelsey.
I agree with that. I do. I think that's going to be your best bet, is bringing it to the Lord. And I've definitely just heard plenty of testimonies of, especially wives who want their husband to treat them a different way, or treat them better, or do something. If you go to that person and you're like, can you do this? Can you be this way? It's probably not going to result. It might result in the opposite way, okay? Out of pride or just like offense or whatever. And so I think just praying, like Aaron said, is probably going to be your best bet. And just trusting that the Lord's going to take care of it. Because I've definitely seen it happen over and over with people that like husbands and wives have been transformed. And it wasn't anything that the husband or wife did to change that person. It's really just prayer and just trusting in the Lord. And so I've definitely seen it happen firsthand. So.
All right.
Awesome. Okay, Pookie, what's a quick way? You and Indy, y'all got the speed round. What is the quick way, or not a quick way? I guess, what is a way that you can support and encourage each other's growth in areas that your spouse might be lacking in?
Well, I think once you communicate what the lack is or what the spouse is lacking, either one, that you just have to be creative with and being open to figuring out different ways that you can support each other. And one thing I'll just say is that you have to be open and not be defensive. And that's me speaking I'm preaching to myself now, okay? Because I realize even now I can get really defensive when it's just like, hey, do you realize that your tone is this way or your face is this way? Be open and try to communicate and understand. And when you're encouraging each other, just don't be critical during the encouragement.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay. We got a lot of growth on here tonight. Okay. Especially in Pookie's box. When she had stuff to say, it was profound. And when she said go, it's just time to go. Indy Boo, what's your take on that?
So what I would say to finish it off is lead by example. And when you motivate someone, like if we'll say like working out or something like that, if you know that your spouse is getting a little out of hand or something like that, right? You start picking up the weights because your genetics might be better than theirs where you can eat whatever you want, but they can't. So, couples eat together. So if you're eating a hamburger every night and your body can handle it, but hers can't, maybe you should start making better choices and everything, because when you lead by example, then I'm interested because I'm in love with you. I'm interested in what you're interested in. So then I'm thinking of it, I'm wording it different, like, hey, we're spending time together. This might not be like I like, but hey, this is a different way of spending time together. So motivate each other in love, of course. And just, if you pick up a piece of broccoli, they're more than likely to start picking up a piece of broccoli, So, but Ecclesiastes 4, 9 through 10 says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. So basically what it's just saying is that when you're not feeling it, but your spouse is, they can pull you up out of that miry clay because you're stuck in it. You don't know how to get out of it. But the person that you trust and love knows how to speak to you and encourage you. That's why it's important to have someone that's encouraged you, speaks your love language, and cares to make you better. Bree, you're muted. Bree, you're muted.
Sorry. Okay, I was saying that it was... I was saying that was wonderful advice that everyone gave. I think leading by example, praying, being encouraging, not getting defensive. Definitely your body language, because Daddy gets mad here first, like in his throat. His tone changes, and then I think it bubbles up. And Pastor Kyrus just goes into a high gear, and she's
her
something
head
else.
turns around. It turns.
Her head starts spinning, and it's just
yeah.
So the two of them, but I love them. I'm thankful for everybody that's on here. But I think y'all had some great things to say, and especially the leading by example and being prayerful. And you've got to meet people where they are and know where they're coming from and their mindset, and try to speak to that. I think the first way to help someone is have understanding. And when you have understanding and comprehension of some things, I can give better advice. I can help better. I can love better if I have understanding and I'm open to hearing, loving, and being forgiving. So that's my take on it. But I love you guys. I'm so thankful that everybody was able to come on here tonight. Like and share this. Send this to someone, and hopefully it helps them. Get your questions ready for next week, because we'll be back next Tuesday at 7 p.m. live. And I'm ready to see what you guys have to say. We're going to have some interesting topics and some new special guests. So I'll see you here next week on Live with Kyrus. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night. Bye.
And the silly things you say just to make me laugh. Look me in the eyes and say you'll never